It had been a full month since the girls first heard about going on their tour from Gus. Life had remained pretty static for them up until this point. Going to work every day, hanging out at Jack's at lunchtime for a few hours, going home to prepare various things for their trip, and a bit of relaxing while they were up until this point. Going to work, but of course they still had the chance. Dusk even reconsidered a bit slightly, and finished off her last month working at Jack's, but still remained stubborn in the decision to quit when they went on tour. "I'm going to miss you so much, Daddy," Thorne said, feeling emotional. Although she lived in her own apartment and felt independent, she still saw her dad often and very much enjoyed her time with him. It was going to be hard not to see or talk to him for so long. "I'll miss you too. I'm so proud of you girls, though. You've come so far in just a few months. This is going to be an adventure you'll never forget," Robert smiled. Thorne gave her father one of the biggest hugs she's ever had. The girls were leaving for their tour tonight, after all, so it would be the last time they would see each other for a while. "I love you, Sally," Robert said, with a warmth in his voice. "I love you too, Daddy," Thorne replied, as she separated herself from her father's warm embrace. Thorne felt the pain of sadness as she walked out of the door. She was very excited to go on the tour. It surprised of how emotional this was making her. She tried to put the sadness behind her and focus on the excitement of this new experience. The black-haired goth got in her car and turned on the radio, and she turned on the vehicle to begin driving. Of course, the song on what she heard was Hexed Girl. Even a few weeks ago, this might have been surprise Thorne. However, the song had continued to make a great leaps on the chart. The song was now number 5 on the chart, with 13,000 plays weekly on the radio. Pretty much every station in the country was playing their song now at least once a day, if not more. According to Gus, many stations were playing their album and song every few hours. The album had declined a little on Billboard Hot 200, but maintained its steady number 2 spot. It was only beat out by a popular boy band, NCYNC, their album No Strings Attached. If there was one thing America loved, it was boy bands, so it hardly surprised Thorne. She just felt lucky that their album was still doing in the charting at all. "Goodbye, Dad. Goodbye, Mom." Luna waved emotionally as she was giving her mother and father a hug outside the dentist office. "Wasn't that so nice of my mom to come to the office just to see me off?" Luna said to Thorne as she got in the car. Her eyes looked a little red and puffy, signaling to Thorne that she had been crying. 3 of them seemed to be going on a spectrum of emotional reactions to this big change of life. Thorne was moderately emotional, yet excited, while Dusk was purely excited and acted like the change wouldn't come any soon enough. Luna, on the other hand, seemed like somewhat resistant to the change and anxious about leaving their cozy life at home. "Yeah, that was sweet of her," Thorne smiled. "How are you feeling about leaving today, by the way?" "I'm not sure if I'm ready," Luna sighed. "I think I want to, but I'm nervous. I'm excited to share our music with the world, but it's gonna be nerve-wracking to perform in such a big crowd. But I guess Gus said if I get used to it once the tour began, so that's good." "It's not forever either," Thorne promised, patting the redhead on the back to comfort her. "It's only for a month, and if you really hate it, maybe we could figure out something else if we go on tour again someday." "That's true," Luna said, a bit confused and comforted. Thorne then pulled to the single empty parking lot at Jack's. At this point, almost all the leaves had fallen, leaving a few barren leaves decorating outside of the restaurant. As the girls entered the restaurant, they saw Bridget, Sam, and Nia sitting in their usual booth. On the other side of the restaurant, they noticed Dusk waiting on the bald-headed customer with his red-haired wife. "Hi!" Bridget exclaimed. "Come on and sit down. We've got so much to talk about before we leave for the tour this afternoon." "Hey, can you believe it that we're going to be gone for a month?" Nia questioned. "I really can't." Thorne shook her head, chuckled politely. "Man, this soup has a fly in it." Thorne could hear the bald-headed gentleman complain. Thorne peered over to see how Dusk was handling the situation. To her surprise, she saw that Thorne put her finger in the man's soup rudely to remove the fly, flicking it on the ground. "Okay, there you are, sir," Sorry about that, Dusk apologized. I don't mean to be rude, ma'am, but that's disgusting. I'd like you to bring me a new bowl. I don't know where your hands have been, the customer complained. They're gonna go up your ass if you don't back off. This is my last day working here, so I don't have to put up with your shit, Dusk snarled as she walked off. Hell yeah, Sam exclaimed. Dusk isn't taking shit from anyone. She's so empowered. Fawn most certainly didn't feel the same way. Ever since the girls found out about going on a tour from Gus, Dusk had to start occasionally becoming overly full of herself, to the point where she was thinking above other people. Dusk had always been a very sassy, tough-as-nails type person, but it had never gotten to the point of actively being mean to others like it had been recent weeks. Thankfully, it only happened a few times thus far. Fawn didn't care for Sam's remark either, because there was a difference between being empowered of yourself and disempowering others. Fawn wasn't particularly sure of how everyone else felt it, though. Hey, Dusk, Jack said, sounding a little worried. Yeah, what is it, Jack? Dusk said. Her voice sounded more receptive once again. I know occasionally the customers could be a little less than sensitive, but could you please try not to swear at them? Jack said, seemingly cautious about offending Dusk. I'm sorry. This customer was just being unreasonable, and I let my temper get the best of me, Dusk apologized. It won't happen again, I promise. It was very meaningless so far, promise, as Fawn was concerned, because Dusk only had 20 minutes of her final shift. Moreover, Fawn disliked how Dusk pinned the customer, and Fawn felt like she was being very responsible for not wanting to bug on his food. So Dusk took the offensive too far, easily. So you girls are all packed? Nia asked, once the spectacle of Dusk's tempered tantrum was over. Yeah, we packed last night, Fawn answered. I've always thought about packing for a long trip would take forever, but it's really just to make sure you've packed all of your essentials and the 2 weeks' worth of clothes, since you can wash them while you're traveling. We're all packed too, Bridget confirmed. Now we've just got to wait for Dusk's shift to be over, and then we'll be all set to meet my dad at the studio. From there, we can hit the road. Well, if you want to head out whenever you know for your big trip, that's fine with me, Jack informed Dusk in a couple of booths away. I really liked having you around, Dusk. It's been helpful, even if it couldn't last. Thanks, Jack. Dusk gave Jack a big hug, as he returned the display of affection. It's really been fun working here. Best luck on your trip, Jack said, as he broke the embrace. I just know you girls will bring down the house. Thanks, Jack, Fawn said, taking her turn next to give the restaurant owner a hug. Once the hug ended, she noticed that Luna was tearing up a bit as it was her turn. I'm gonna miss you a lot, girls, Jack said, hugging Luna. We'll really miss you, but we'll be back for a month, and I guarantee you that we'll still come here all the time once we come back. Luna tried not to cry. Jack quickly gave the other 3 girls, Bridget, Nia, and Sam, hugs as well. I'm so proud of all of you. I'm excited to hear all about your adventure once you come back, Jack said, as the girls grabbed their coats. We can't wait to tell you about it, Fawn smiled. The girls had driven back to their apartment with Bridget, Nia, and Sam, following them home. Dusk and Luna had quickly grabbed their suitcases and instruments from the apartment. Before coming down to wait for Gus, their manager was set to pick them up at the apartment in less than 10 minutes, so they could quickly embark on their tour. 6 girls gathered around with the entryway to the apartment, looking over the tour schedule again. Gus had made a quick work of calling everyone, scheduling for venues for the girls, which they'll be incredibly thankful for. So first we're going to Minneapolis, then Milwaukee the next day, followed by Detroit, then Indianapolis, Chicago, Cincinnati, Nashville, Charlotte, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Columbia, Denver, Seattle, Portland, Hollywood, San Antonio, Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston. Fawn read. How many days do we have to perform until we get a break? Luna said, seemingly exhausted just by the thought of it. We could perform for 3 days, then we have a day break before we perform for 2 nights in a row, Dusk answered. Sounds like a lot of traveling, Luna replied. I traveled from job to job with my dad when I was younger, so it's not as bad as you think, Sam said. I kind of grew up traveling after a while. Honestly, it was so fun to explore places. I think that van is Gus, isn't it? Dusk pointed at the large blue van, slowing down as it approached the apartments. It sure is, Bridget said, grabbing her suitcase handle. As the van came to a complete halt, Gus rolled down the window. All right, my groovy chicklets, the bus is all geared up and ready to go, Gus excitedly announced. Fawn, Dusk, and Luna loaded their instruments and suitcases of the back of the van. Wow, I can't believe it. It's finally here, Fawn gasped. Yeah, Luna said, seemingly a little uncertain and nervous. Yeah, Dusk exclaimed excitedly. She hoped for the front seat next to Gus. Fawn and Luna sat in the middle row seats, while Bridget, Nia, and Sam squeezed together in the back seat. This is a really neat van, Gus, Nia exclaimed. What features does it have? Thank you. This is the Studio Tours van we bought a number of years ago, Gus explained. It doesn't particularly have any special features, other than suppose its large size to accommodate with so many people, though. I'm not exactly a car person, so I wouldn't know how to describe the features, even if it did have any. Can we pop a wheelie? Sam inquired, looking eager to hear Gus's response. No, it can't pop a wheelie. Gus's tone got a bit sarcastic. The main feature of this tour van is that this van's for touring. Happy? Not really, Sam responded in a pouty voice. We've got a long trip ahead of us, girls, Gus said, as he drove the van away from the apartments. It's gonna take us 20 hours to get to Minneapolis, so we'll need to take turns driving. 20 hours? Dusk exclaimed. Damn! Any ideas to keep us entertained? Bridget inquired. We could count down the number of crows we see until we get to Minneapolis, Luna suggested. For 20 hours? No thanks. Dusk laughed. Does this have any concerns about the concert they want to discuss? Gus asked. There is a brief pause for a moment where there was no one seeing anything. I guess I'm just really worried about being shy, Luna finally spoke up. It feels like it's going to take a lot out of me to perform every night. That's a valid concern, Gus acknowledged. A lot of people feel that place while touring, however. Many people end up feeling the joy of sharing their music with the world, so it's a rewarding that they can get handled for being pushed out of their comfort zone a little while. So I shouldn't be worried. I guess I'll get used to it? Luna inquired. Well, I wouldn't say you were getting used to it, but it's something certain, Gus cautioned. Everyone handles experience differently, so you may find you hate touring, but there's no way of knowing until you try. Even after you hate it, you'll just have to figure it out and reevaluate yourself with bandmates if you cross that road. Okay, thanks, Luna smiled. Fawn couldn't exactly tell her friend how she was feeling better or not, even though she verbally gave the sentence that she was. In honesty, Fawn wasn't even sure of her own feelings. She was excited about the tour, but very nervous about the pressure to perform in front of all those people. Fawn had always dreamed about going on tour, so she wasn't sure why it felt so nerve-wracking of now that it was actually happening. She supposed that it would be a matter of time until she found out if the touring was for her. It had been 16 hours in the car. Fawn woke up to see the sun shining out of the van window. She'd been having a dream about being on tour that she only half remembered. Instead of the dream of people shouting her name in happiness that she wanted of so many times before they had any sort of chance at success, Fawn dreamt about people booing her. She didn't remember why exactly the people were booing her in her dream, but she remembered how much it hurt, because she had done the best she could, and it still wasn't good enough. As Fawn woke up from her groggy state, she realized that she switched drivers, so Gus can rest while Nia drove. Good morning, sleepyhead, Bridget chirped. 4 hours left. 4 hours felt like still too much driving remaining, but at least the trip was already 80% over. Fawn supposed that she could get used to it after a while on the road, but right now it felt like so much time to be in the car. Would anyone like to stop to use the bathroom? Nia asked. There's a gas station up ahead, so now would be a good time. Yeah, I think I'd like to, Fawn responded. And maybe we can get some breakfast too? Dusk suggested. I'm starved. Alright, Nia said, as she turned off of the next exit ramp. It's gonna be a good stretch. My legs are so stiff. Mine too. My mind has been so fuzzy and unfocused as well, Luna said. I'm probably gonna forget the words when we perform tonight. You're probably just because you're worrying, Sam commented. You know that there is Wicca rituals to help with that. We could maybe do one after stopping at the gas station if we got time, Bridget suggested. In front of your dad? Thorne whispered, expressing surprise. She wasn't sure if Gus was on board with being Wiccans. Most people in Oakhaven weren't particularly accepting Wiccans, particularly those who have heard about Sarah Ravencroft, typical from the previous year. Yeah, of course, Bridget shrugged. He doesn't care we're Wiccans just because he isn't one, right, Dad? Oh, no at all, Gus chuckled. Not at all. Thorne felt like Gus's chuckles were a hint of nervousness or uncertainty, but that would have been just her imagination. Do you want to do one, Luna? Bridget asked. Sure, Luna shrugged. Couldn't hurt, I guess, even if I'm not a Wiccan. I think it's not going to work, Dusk rolled her eyes. I think it would work regardless if Luna's Wiccan or not, Thorne replied. Wicca rituals aren't usually magic. They're just using their collective energy to help bring someone being. So if we all use our collective energy to get the big, juicy hamburger at once, would it just appear? Dusk replied sarcastically. You never know, Sam giggled. Okay, we're here, Nia said, as the van pulled up in the gas pumps and stopped. You can all go inside. I'm going to fill up while we're here. Okay, I'm going to get some coffee and a muffin, Thorne informed. Do we have to get coffee at the gas station? Dusk sighed. Oh, we're going to be making mega bucks from this tour. We don't need to drink shitty gas station coffee like we're asses off the street. Well, she does have a point, Nia realized. There is a Starbucks across the street if we want to stop there, Bridget pointed out. They've got great coffee. Sure, we could do that, Thorne agreed, as she held the door open for Gus and the 4 girls. Yeah, let's definitely do that, Luna said. I don't want to stay in this gas station any longer than we have to. This town seems super weird. Thorne looked over in one of the main aisles. There was a news reporter dressed in a fancy suit. Stood and a man had a microphone in his hand, and he looked was to be reporting live, and being followed by a cameraman. This is Bill Johnson for Channel 6 Action News, and I've just got a word that a local man had just started a fire at the gas station, the reporter exclaimed, as he pulled out a package of matches from his pocket. He took the match out and struck it through on the side of the pocket until it saw the flame. Ladies and gentlemen, that local man is fine. The cameraman sighed in response. Bill, what if I told you about creating your own news on slow days? I'm sorry, Bill hung his head in shame. He blew out the match. Thorne shuddered at this Ackerman's abnormal antics. She hoped that all the cities that she performed weren't like this, but there was no way that she could be for sure. One thing was for sure, is that she was going to go to the bathroom as quickly as she possibly could so she could get out of the place. A small vanilla latte with soy milk, please, Luna concluded with her order as they went for the Starbucks drive-thru. Okay, so we got 3 vanilla lattes, one of them with soy milk, one with mocha, and one with black coffee. A caramel frappuccino with a raspberry white mocha. Did I get everything? The barista's voice came out of the speaker attached to the drive-thru. Yep, that's everything, Nia confirmed. They'll be $20.78, the barista said. Please pull ahead to a window. $20? Luna exclaimed. That's pretty expensive just for coffee. Well, we're big-time musicians now, Dusk boasted. We're finally getting the coffee for breakfast that we deserve. We probably should have just gone to the gas station and gotten it from a machine, but now we can afford real quality drinks. More expensive doesn't necessarily mean quality, Thorne challenged. Whatever, you get what I mean. We can afford fancy treat for breakfast, and we should be proud of it, Dusk replied. Thorne still didn't agree with Dusk's statement. She personally didn't think touring money should be spent on important things, rather than just saying blowing it on foolish things like a round of coffee and breakfast for them all day. Sadly, that seemed to be a lifestyle Dusk was embracing, though. To sum things up, it seemed that Thorne and Luna had considered fame as something a bit extra and supplemented with their already rich lives, whereas Dusk viewed it as an accomplishment that gave their bragging rights. She only hoped that Dusk would soon see a past initial excitement that being famous to give her, so she could see that fame wasn't just an excuse to be a narcissist. Nia drove up to the window as the woman repeated the total. $20.78, please. Here you go, Nia said, handing her a $20 bill, 3 quarters and 3 pennies. Alright, here's the coffee, the barista began, handing Nia the drinks one by one. Have a nice day. You too, Nia said, as she pulled over into the parking spot to distribute the food and drinks. Would anyone like to open the last leg of the drive trip? I've been driving for a long time now. I can, Thorn offered. She didn't really want to drive, but she thought that it would be kind to do so it was relief of Nia of driving. She had already been driving nearly 8 hours. Thanks, Thorn, I appreciate it, Nia said, as she opened the driver's door and switched spots with the black-haired Hex girl. Hey, Luna, do you still want to do the ritual? Bridget inquired. Sure, Luna said, as she gobbled down the last bites of her chocolate muffin. Great, Nia said, given now she was sitting next to Luna. She began demonstrating the ritual for Luna. Just follow what I do. Place both your hands and palms down on the car seat. Luna did as she was instructed. Okay. Now close your eyes, Nia said, as she shut hers as well. Imagine the energy rising up from the earth into your veins. Let the earth give you the energy to be able to overcome your shyness and perform in front of all these people excited to hear your music. Can you feel the energy? Yeah, I can feel the heated seat, Luna joked. This van's heated seats? Sam exclaimed. Damn! Why didn't you tell us that, Gus? Good, that joke you just made me loosen up a little, Nia observed. Now in all seriousness, can you feel the energy? Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm loosening it up. Luna's facial expression formed into a smile, with her eyes still closed. I can still feel the energy coming up to me. Great, Nia exclaimed. Now just keep on focusing on how you're feeling. How does visualizing that energy make you feel? I feel empowered, Luna smiled. That's wonderful, Nia responded. Now, just keep visualizing the energy coming from your body for however you want. And whenever you feel like you've replenished, you can open your eyes. Luna kept imagining the current flowing up in her body. The burst of earthly energy made her feel a bit more confident about herself in the concert. After a few moments, she opened her eyes. Okay, now what? Luna inquired. Nothing, that was all, Nia replied. Wait, that it? Luna asked, confused. Why are people scared of that? It is real magic I'm pulling from the earth or something? It is whatever you want it to be. Bridget laughed. Technically speaking, the visualization process helps you feel empowered. It's not a physical force in any same way you magic represent television and movies. It's more of a spiritual, earthly force. Through the tapping into your spiritual aura, you are able to create your emotion experiences for yourself, that the ground finds you and fills you up. That's so cool, Luna exclaimed. How often can you do rituals? There's no limits or anything, Nia chuckled. You could do it multiple times a day if you really want to. Typically, we try and do it once every few days, or whenever we're feeling drained, Sam explained. I'd love to do that again sometime. That's wicked cool. I feel a lot calmer now, Luna replied. Ford was happy to see the ritual had calmed her frown down. She hadn't really seen any rituals since the healing one that Bridget, Nia, and Sam did with her a month and a half ago. But it was definitely something that she wanted to get more into. Touring would surely be stressful, so it would be helpful to self-care routine to keep herself from getting too overwhelmed. Thorn drove the highway down to the snowy countryside. They had arrived in Minnesota, but about a half ago. Oh, Thorn was used to getting to the snow, at least in Massachusetts earlier. There was at least 3 inches of snow on the ground already. Thankfully, the roads remained relatively dry, so it wasn't too treacherous in driving. Just a few minutes left, Thorn replied, as she saw a sign reading Exit 233A from Highway I-94W to St. Paul. Turning on her signal, she took the exit and probably saw another sign, telling her she was just a few minutes away from their destination. Where are we performing again? Dusk inquired. The XL Energy Center, Thorn answered. It's just a few miles away. It just opened a couple months ago too, apparently. XL Energy Center? Dusk exclaimed in surprise. Does that mean we have to work around power cords and circuits and stuff while we're performing? No, Gus said. The XL Energy is just an electric company that sponsors the venue. It's just a big place for concerts here in Minneapolis. Does anyone here want to get something to eat? Sam interrupted. I'm getting hungry. Yes, I think it'd be a good idea if we got something to eat before the concert at 7, Gus suggested. It's 2 now, so we still got plenty of time to set up. I'd be in the mood for pizza, Dusk suggested. I could go for pizza too, Luna agreed. No, how many of you guys know pizza places around here, Gus? Foreign questioned. There's Papa Louie's and Punch Pizza over in Highland Park, Gus informed. I think Punch Pizza is much better, obviously. Well, it's where we're heading then, Foreign exclaimed, as Gus began instructing her on how to get there. Because there was no street parking, Foreign had to drive a van to a parking garage. In Oak Haven, people always parked on the street, so it was a bit of a mental adjustment for her. The only time she ever been in a parking garage was when they performed at the Larcom Theater in Salem, which not exactly the experience she wanted to remember. Punch Pizza was a decent-sized restaurant, with the large windows making up most of the wall on the door. The parts of it were just not all windows were made out of brick. In the shape of 2 pillars, there was a large outdoor seating area, although, coarse enough, it was closed for the winter. The large sign with Punch, in all capital letters, adorned the green siding, just as the 7 of them approached the door to the Punch Pizza. Another man bustled ahead of them. He seemed to be in a hurry as he opened the door. Foreign prepared to follow him. Surely they would hold the door for them. People would always did in the social nicety in Oak Haven, especially when there's large groups of people. Thanks, miss, Foreign began, nearly when the door slammed in her face. The man didn't even bother to take notice that they were right behind them. Rude, Luna replied. Yeah, who does that guy think he is? Bridget defended. It's unfortunately quite normal for big cities like this. People are usually caught up in themselves. They don't even bother with social pleasantries like holding doors for others. That's more of a small town phenomenon, since everyone usually knows everyone. Occasionally in a big city like this, but I would never expect it, Gus informed, as he held the door for the other 6. Upon walking into Punch Pizza, Foreign was overwhelmed with the number of pizza in the restaurant. Despite the fact that they were eating there at midday, nearly every booth was packed with people. A girl at their age wearing a blue waitress outfit and uniform approached them. Hello, I'm Brianna, and I'll be your server today, the waitress said. We don't have any booths remaining, so we'll have to give you a table. Is that alright? Yeah, that's fine, Gus replied. How many of you are there? The waitress asked. 7, Sam said. Okay, right this way. The waitress ushered as the 7 of them filed. Foreign was shocked to see that nearly every booth and table place was filled, so she was so surprised to see how every packed tables and booths were there. It was nearly barely enough space for people to walk, but it was clear that this restaurant was set up to serve a very large amount of people. This is so much different than Oak Haven, Foreign whispered. Jack never had any trouble getting people in, and there was plenty of places to sit. The waitress finally brought them over to the back corner of the restaurant, nearly up against the left wall. She took an extra chair from one of the empty tables, so there would be enough seats for everyone. Now, what would you all like to drink? The waitress asked. I'll just have water, Foreign replied. Same, Luna and Bridget answered. I'll have lemonade, Sam said. I'll take some Mountain Dew, Nia ordered. Mountain Dew for me too, Dusk answered. I'll have lemonade as well, Gus stated. We would like a few minutes to look at the menu, the waitress inquired. Do we all just want to share on a pizza? Gus suggested, to which everyone nodded. Is everyone okay with opposed deluxe? Bridget asked. Cheese, pepperoni, veggies, and sausage? Sounds good to me, Foreign agreed. I'm not a fan of olives, but I could take them off, Luna stated. Okay, I guess we know what we want then. 1 large deluxe pizza, please, Gus ordered. Sounds good. I'll be back with your drinks soon, Brianna informed. Once Brianna had left to go get their drinks, Luna was the first to speak. I can't get over how everything different is here. And it's so freaking cold, Sam exclaimed. The people here seem kind of mean, Foreign sighed, before she was interrupted by Bridget. Oh my god, that guy was so proposing, Bridget exclaimed, pointing to a man with a ring in his palm, handing it to a woman who was sitting next to. Carla, will you... The man stuttered before his significant other interrupted him. Yes, Scott, yes, the woman said, looking like she was very emotional and beginning to tear up. Will you hold my class ring for me? The man finished. I'm always sick of accidentally dropping it in the toilet whenever I go to the bathroom. Scott, the woman scolded. Yeah, I'll take that as a yes, Scott exclaimed, handing the ring to the woman. By the way, I accidentally lost our promise ring in the lake when I was feeding bread to some ducks. From now on, the lake represents our commitment to each other. You're not talking about that old swamp by your parents' house, are you? Carla rolled her eyes. Yes, my love. All it means whenever we get swamped with our life, our love will raise up through murky waters, Scott declared. That's so mean, Thorn whispered. A big city living is quite different from a small town life, Gus informed. People often here are much less friendly, and the customers are a tad different. That could be a benefit of travel, though. You are often exposed to different ways of living and gain more knowledge to the world. Thorn supposed that he was right. Even though the customers felt a bit strange at first, Thorn knew that it wouldn't be forever, and then she'd be home again within a month. Even though she was a bit nervous about performing in front of so many people, she was really looking forward to traveling to all these new places. When the girls arrived at the XL Energy Center, they were surprised of how large the place was. Even at the Larcom Theater in Salem, the venue didn't have been quite this big. The girls had been there for about an hour and already set up their instruments, done with their makeup, and they even changed into their outfits. Luna donned a black sleeveless dress, complete with lots of makeup, of course, the girls' fake fangs, which they wore at every concert. Dusk wore a green dress with a small slit down her back. Thorn was wearing the black and red dress, which was somewhat low cut, but allowed for lots of flexibility and movement as she performs on stage. I don't know if I can handle this, Luna shuddered. Thousands of people sounds like so many. I thought the ritual we did this morning helped you calm you down, Nia pointed out. It did at first, Luna shuddered. Now I'm worried again, though. Don't be. You'll do great, Bridget comforted. Yeah, you're gonna rock this concert. Literally and figuratively, I suppose, since you play rock music, Sam smirked. The curtain's going up in 10 minutes, girls, a female employee with dyed green hair informed. She was wearing a black shirt and tight pants. 10 minutes? I've got to get my instrument set up, Dust scrambled. Me too, Luna scurried over to grab her keyboard. Now, just to do a quick refresher on the list. We've decided we're starting with Hexed Girl, then ending with Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air, right? Thorn double-checked. Yep, Dusk nodded. It's only a couple of minutes before the curtains go up, girls. We're gonna leave you be, but we'll be with the audience cheering you on the whole time, Gus assured. You'll do incredible, Bridget assured. Break a leg, Sam said. You're gonna be awesome, Nia waved, as the girls and Gus left the backstage area. 1 minute until curtain up, the half-green-haired woman called. Alright, are we all ready? Thorn said, taking a deep breath. Hell yeah, Dusk exclaimed. I think so, Luna shuddered nervously. Within 30 seconds, the curtains started to rise. When the curtain was midway up, Thorn saw a sea of thousands of faces, looking at them with excitement and anticipation. People everywhere were packed with both every balcony on the main level. At first, Thorn felt a wave of overwhelmness wash over her body. She knew that she didn't let herself be paralyzed with fear. But the thought of thousands of people expecting her to entertain them was almost far too much for her. Thorn had been trying to assure the audience that seeing her true self whenever she performed lately. She had gotten a bit of a bad habit of creating distances between her true self, Sally, and her stage persona, Thorn. She had been trying to do better and making sure that she was being enthusiastically herself on stage. Ever since their song started charting on the radio, however, being invulnerable and showing her true self in front of all these people was far too difficult. She didn't want to separate Sally and Thorn again, but she knew she had to go on full Thorn mode, not to break into tears. Sally closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When her eyes opened up again, there was Thorn. Are you guys ready to rock out tonight? Thorn shouted at the audience, which was met by excited screams. She didn't even know how she felt about the audience was down, so she made sure Sally remained hidden until she hit the first note on her guitar.